boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
When there's an upset, the focus automatically goes to the favorite and what he didn't do and how bad he looked. That often overshadows what the underdog did. And Lamont Roach, two-handed puncher, very good inside fighter. He's definitely matured from when he lost to the likes of Jamel Herring 5 years ago. And he's also a current 130-pound champion. But it has to go down as a cherry pick gone wrong for Tank by default. Because this was not a fight that the media or the boxing fans called for. And we've been told by those closest associated to Tank, whether it's media or those at the PBC, that he's the face of boxing. And in my opinion, without being a shutout, it was quite an emphatic win for Lamont Roach. It was very technical, very techie, a chess match. But Lamont came prepared. Tight defense, whether he done the earmuff thing or he rolled shots with the Philly shell. He stayed in punching range for large percentages of the fight, while Tank kept smiling, trying to bluff Lamont that he wasn't winning, that Tank was in control, while Lamont looked way more comfortable in there and didn't make any serious mistakes that Tank could find one of them lethal counters that we've seen before. And it begs the question, what level has the opposition been? Why did he have to put a rehydration clause on Ryan Garcia? Why wouldn't he fight Lomachenko earlier? He's adamant he won't fight Shakur. He turned down $20 million recently to fight Devin Haney. He hasn't unified the strap. So how much risk has he really took? How much credence can you give to those who say he's a top 5 pound for pound guy? When Josh Taylor had all 4 straps at 140, he moved up to 140 and fought Mario Barrios, who had the lower tier belt via the WBA to what Josh Taylor had as the undisputed champion. Lamont barked at Tank when Tank landed a good shot, or when he thought Tank didn't want to engage with him. He told Tank, let's go. The Tank just kept smiling, retreating, not doing much. Lamont set the tempo, whether they were going to go at it up close, and he proved to be a good inside fighter, or to stay at range. He set the tempo. And Tank, being the smaller guy, and I'm assuming shorter reach, came up short with a lot of his shots. In the post-fight press conference, they were saying, did he have an iron chin because you hit him with some salacious shots? Now, I didn't take the punches. Lamont said that Tank can punch. And he said, I can see how he gets people out of there. And perhaps Lamont poker-faced and bluffed his way through how much some of the punches hurt. But I didn't see Lamont disturbed by the power. Didn't see it. I see Tank shook from a right hook, I believe in the 8th round. Staggered back a couple of steps. The more accurate jab, Lamont Roach had the volume off. They say there was perhaps too many voices in Tank's corner, with Calvin, Barry Hunter, and Kenny Ellis, who Tank calls the super team, but too much cook spoils the broth, one might say. There was one sequence around round 5, I think it was, where Tank was just retreating, holding, and complaining to the ref. He complained to the ref, and Lamont hit him with a left hand. Lamont didn't look at the referee at one time for assistance in the fight. And Tank saw that look in Lamont's eyes, and it made him very uncomfortable to be himself. This is the first time Tank's come close to losing a pro fight. Some people say the Pitbull fight was close. I don't believe it was. I think Tank outboxed him, kept him turning, Pitbull a little one-dimensional. Tank said Lamont was slow. I don't think Lamont is slow. Tank might be quicker, and in the 6th round, which was one of Tank's best rounds, yeah, the hand speed was impressive, but we saw too little of that. That was one of the few rounds where I saw some quality boxing from Tank. The 9th round was an embarrassment. He took a few jabs, took a knee, then got up like a crazy person, went to his corner to get his face wiped off with a towel, to wipe the hair chemicals out of his eye. Steve Willis, either incompetent or corrupt, either one is not acceptable, started the count and then stopped the count. Then when the action was about to resume, he told Tank that going on the knee like that could look like a knockdown. No, it is a knockdown. If you voluntarily take a knee, that's what it is. And then to watch Tank post-fight shouting at the crowd when he gave the whack explanation that he got his hair done a couple of days before the fight, and the wax the woman put in his hair started to melt into his face. so he had to take the knee. Just compounded a bad night at the office for the guy. When the action resumed in the ninth, Tank tried to swing for the fences, but Lamont stayed with him every step of the way, and Tank couldn't impose himself on him by coming forward, and his counter-punching, that wasn't effective either. Tank complained and whined to the referee all night, just like Lewis Crocker in Ireland. We'll get onto that soon. He took an age to make an appearance at the press conference because he was embarrassed. Fresh after the decision was made, one of Tank's trainers said, "We need to run it again." I think Barry Hunter. But Tank said, "No, we're not going to do the rematch." And the media was asking, "Well, what are we going to do?" "Oh, the guy I'm going to fight came to my dressing room." And they said Shakur Stevenson. He said, "No, he didn't go to my dressing room." Next question. Tank is getting extremely tedious and boring. The whole act has run out of steam. Everybody keeps going back to the ninth round, saying Lamont was robbed of a 10-8 round, which would have given the verdict. Some people say, without the controversial knockdown that should have been scored, he should still have won. And I can't argue with that. They fought twice as amateurs. I don't know if they sparred as pros, but they're familiar with each other. According to Lamont, Tank won 2 contentious verdicts in the amateurs. Barry Hunter, who was training Gervonta, and Calvin Ford, who trains Gervonta, were both very familiar with Lamont Roach. They're both from Maryland, and the local pride thing seemed to really be driving Lamont Roach on. Also, the date of the fight getting pushed back from last year, from November to December to February, that gave Lamont a lot of time to acclimate himself to 135 and to eat, sleep, drink, Tank, and get ready. At least that's my theory. This could potentially open up the division, because Tank was reluctant to take fights outside the PBC's control. So it's not because I hate Tank or anything stupid like that. I don't know Tank. I just want to see competitive fights at the weight class, and I saw one yesterday. All credit due to Lamont Roach, but some people are arguing that this proves that Lamont is world class. But the other argument is Tank is nowhere near the face of boxing, or nowhere near as good as his fan base and certain sections of the media try to tell us he is. And before we forget, he didn't take an L, at least not officially, yesterday. He still has the belt. And they might double down on the whole ideology of avoiding the fights the fans and certain sections of the media want to see, and go into full protection mode on Tank, seeing the vulnerabilities. What I would like to see, and I assume a lot of others would like to see, is perhaps Tank is unburdened of that undefeated record, which a lot of people attribute to some Mayweather blueprint being a noose around a lot of American fighters' necks. And now he might be inclined to take more chances. Now he's lost a little shine, he might want to try and prove himself and attempt to tie up the belts and make a real concerted effort to do so. We shall see. But then again, if he keeps performing like that, we won't have to worry. Somebody will take that belt off him, even if he cherry picks. He looks vulnerable to be taken.
Boxing beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Padre McCrory, not convinced that he's convinced he should be at light heavy. His energy level certainly ain't there. I've certainly seen him more aggressive than this, but he's normally a 168 pounder. Craig is winning the fight. By the 4th and 5th, he was managing to counter the southpaw lead from McCrory quite successfully. In the 5th, they traded right hands. McCrory landed his one first. I think Craig's had more effect. McCrory did well to roll a lot of the shots, or I think he would have been out of there a little earlier. By the 6th, it was looking one-sided. Craig landed a good right hand over the top, and he was getting to the body a lot more, which I wanted to see from him earlier. And basically, McCrory was just trying to lure Craig in to land one big shot and turn it around. There was no obvious suggestion that he had a game plan to beat Craig round by round. McCrory was breathing heavy from the 2nd round, and by the 7th he was in survival mode, just holding on, blocking and rolling shots. But Craig's jab was working beautifully, and he landed some great rights. McCrory was durable. By the end of the 7th, McCrory was looking quite a sad state. His nose was busted up, and Craig was beating him up. That was McCrory's worst round. And in the 8th, Craig was really sitting on his shots. There was one stage he done this kind of pose. It was crazy. And he landed his right hand. McCrory done well to eat it. And then he sat on a beautiful left hand to the body late in the 8th. Padre with his back to the ropes. McCrory went down. Fight over. McCrory, he's got to work out what he's doing. He didn't look conditioned for the fight. Big up Danny, Fight Fan Live. He was in Craig's corner. That's Craig's cousin. McCrory needs to go down to 168 if he's going to continue boxing. He can't fight light heavyweights without getting himself really hurt. Craig looked a lot sharper than he did against Willie Hutchinson, and it's good to see him back in the win column. Didn't lose a round. He caught a few shots, but Craig's got a solid chin. And with Tony Sims, John Ryder, and the Matchroom team behind him, he could put a little run together and get in that shake-up with the likes of Callum, Yard, maybe a Boatsi rematch, as Boatsi just lost to Callum Smith. Willie Hutchinson rematch. He now ups his record to 19, 4-1, 12 inside the distance.
Boxing
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
I'm not sure if Paddy Donovan was intentionally headbutting Crocker. Why would he? He had the measure of him with his hands. I think the styles clashed. Paddy being a southpaw, Crocker being orthodox, and the heads clashed at times. The referee obviously penalised or disqualified Donovan because of the previous reprimands because of reckless usage of the head, in his opinion. Do I think Donovan was hard done by?
Yes!
Yes. At the same time, I don't want to absolve Paddy from taking some of the responsibility of being the engineer of his own downfall. I can't do that. I was watching Adam Azim against Sergei Lipinets, which was as equally as one-sided as Paddy beating up Crocker, and Adam started straying low with them body shots. Shane told him, just stop going to the body. Stop, or you're going to get DQ'd. Ruin all your good work. But you've got to understand, Paddy was in the ascendancy, and Tony Bellew is correct. The referee should have been closer to the action, with Paddy teeing off, looking for a stoppage, and we're approaching the end of round 8. He should have been closer to the action to separate them if necessary. And he wasn't nowhere near to separate them as the bell sounded. I mean, the injuries that Crocker suffered were all from punches. They weren't from head clashes. They were from punches. And he kept crying and crying to the referee. And because he kept crying to the referee, Marcus McDonald automatically took his side on everything. You know, Crocker beforehand was saying, you better not run, Paddy, you better stay and fight. And Paddy obliged him and gave him a good old beating. The left eye was banged up pretty badly towards the end. And, hey, it is what it is. Paddy will learn from this. If there's a rematch, unless Crocker can turn it around with one big shot, it would just be a continuation from round 8. And he'll just be outboxed and beaten up again. Crocker, very stiff, very rigid. He earmuffed with his high guard tight with his chin tucked in to his chest. And he was trying to come out of the crouch with these big hooks. And he was launching these right hands while looking into the floor, literally, hoping to get lucky. It was as crude as you'd need to see. Paddy may have potential world-class ability, but it's hard to tell fighting opposition this level. This is the best that Ireland had to offer in Crocker. But to me, he lost to Conor Walker. No shame in that. We saw Conor Walker the other week win the British and Commonwealth titles, upsetting Harry Scarf. Donovan didn't need the hole in the ring to outbox Crocker. Crocker hasn't got a clue how to cut the ring off. Donovan was right in front of him and boxed small circles around him, little small circles, landing left uppercuts, right hooks, doing nice little pivots around Crocker after he got his punches off. And these patterns didn't change once throughout the fight. They didn't change. Only when the head clashes came up and the controversial ending. Paddy landed a big right hand right on that damaged left eye. Slightly after the bell, Crocker, he went down in a heap, and then the controversy went off from there. Paddy was in tears. He didn't help himself, in all truth. The rematch, I haven't got much interest in it, to be honest. And Crocker is now the mandatory to fight the winner out of Boots and Stanionis, but he's not ready for that level. But if he gets his opportunity, I'm sure he'll take it. Why wouldn't he? Because to me, him rematching Paddy doesn't really make much sense. He has no more than a puncher's chance. So if he does have a world title shot, perhaps at the end of the year, perhaps he just should take some mark time fights and wait for his title shot, because he's very limited. 9,000 at the SSE Odyssey in Belfast, so Eddie Hearn is keen to make the rematch, however. Of course he would be.
Boxing
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Elif Nur Turhan,
29 years of age, 10-0-0, 6 inside the distance. Yes, the Turkish lass looked pretty useful. First round stoppage against Shauna Brown from Ireland, who went into the ring 5-0 with 3 inside the distance. She got cleaned up pretty good. She really did. Shauna came out very aggressive behind that southpaw lead, looking for a fight. The Turkish girl went on the back foot and was looking for the counters. She's very athletic, the way she bounces in and out. It looked like the right hand was coming and then it was a left hook and she staggered Shauna, then came back again and floored her with another left hook. The referee had a good look at her, but she was wandering off, obviously very buzzed. First round stoppage. And yeah, she caught my eye. She looked pretty good. Fast, accurate punches, good footwork. She's peaked the radar, let's say, and I'll be on the lookout.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Gabriel Valenzuela. 30 wins, 17 inside the distance, 4 losses from Mexico. 30 years of age, 5'10", 73-inch reach. That's a very good reach for a 140-pounder. His cornermen wanted him to box and move. But from the first round, where he was lighting up Subriel Matias, he was already locked in and committed to trench warfare. Now, I know when I hear Al Bernstein's voice, Al pointed out that Matias has never won a first round. He always gets beaten up first round. And this was no exception. He came back later into the first and second rounds and landed his own power shots. And his defense is basically to punch and punch and punch and punch until you can't punch him no more. That's his defense. By the third, Valenzuela was letting his hands go, had the faster hands, nice jab, footwork was a little smoother, but he wanted to fight. And in the third round, he got caught with that big combination. With Matias, he's heavy-handed. He's not a one-punch finisher, but he's very heavy-handed. So even if it doesn't look like he's being first all the time, his punches do damage. They do damage. And a lot of fighters, when they fight Matias, they get comfortable that they can light him up. Not forgetting, the man's an animal. You got to box him. And Valenzuela got very comfortable in the pocket in the third and got caught with that huge left hand. And it rocked him. His eye was already marked up. I mean, it's exciting. The crowd are going crazy in Puerto Rico, but cardinal sin of boxing with your back up against the ropes against that guy. No. Like the combinations, the body shots that go in there, his punches seem to get harder as the fight progresses. He's not a one-punch hitter, like I say, but he throws hard combinations, and he's a lot slicker than what he looks. He's good at pacing the fight. If you fight his fight in the pocket, he's excellent at pacing when to come on strong. Great at gauging when his opponent is flagging. Fourth round ends. Valenzuela's still landing punches, and he's still in the fight. Like Valenzuela's eye, it looked horrible. It was swollen, and the cut didn't look like it was in a good place. It looked like a deep cut. And the referee let it go, the doctor let it go, and the corner let it go.
Well, Matias, again, going back to his corner and even coming out, Raul, you noticed this earlier.
Yes.
He's almost reluctant, like he doesn't want to have to finish the fight this way.
Al Bernstein's co-commentator analysed that Matias looked reluctant to come out for the sixth, because the eye was in a bad way. There are a few people who are referencing his 2019 fight with the Ukrainian, who he stopped in the 11th and passed away as a result of the fight through brain injuries. Matias said he thinks about him every day, and it would explain why he was reluctant to have to finish the job when perhaps his opponent should have been pulled out with an injury like that. You know, Matias is basically chasing him around the ring, thumping him to the body and giving him a thorough beating. The corner said they're going to give Valenzuela one more round. They said that twice in between the 5th and the 6th and the 6th and the 7th, and they kept letting him back out. They let him back out in the 7th. The pace of the 7th round inevitably slowed down due to how much output both men had put out in the first half of the fight. And in the 8th, once again, the inevitable outcome of Valenzuela buckling, a couple of big right hands and a left hook. Valenzuela took a knee, and the referee finally waved it off. This could have cost Valenzuela his eyesight, and whilst I'm one for personal responsibility, the boxer is in the midst of an activity where he has to put himself in harm's way to get the victory. You don't want to just throw blame out there, but whether it's the cornerman, the referee, or the doctor, should he have had to take a knee before someone pulled him out of that one? The injury was bad. The injury looked really bad. But it is what it is. Valenzuela is okay, as far as I know. He was ranked number 4 by the IBF. Matias is ranked number 3 by the IBF. the number 1 and number 2 spots are not occupied. So he could be in line to get a shot at his old belt that Liam Paro took from him but subsequently lost to Richardson Hitchens. Matias could be in line for a shot at Hitchens. And at 32 years of age, 22 wins, 22 inside the distance, 2 losses. He's still a live dog in the division. Don't count him out.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.